Undoubtedly, the Middle Ages were the darkest time for women because they were severely tortured by men. For example, in one period, their breasts were cut with a special device. Or in another times with a kind of iron belt, the genitals of the prostitutes were closed so that they could not have a relationship with any man for the rest of their lives. Join us today in this video to learn about some of the most painful tortures of women in the Middle Ages. I'm sure that after the end of the video, your body will be shaking with fear and pain. Number 5. Hook or sickle to cut the chest. The breast hook was a gruesome instrument that caused great pain to female victims and consists of two large symmetrical spikes and a chassis that was designed to tear off a woman's breasts and cut them off completely from her body. They used to hit it with fire. This device was used to torture women who got pregnant from a man without marriage, or any woman who was accused of having sex outside of marriage or was accused of cheating on her husband. The use of this brutal torture tool was stopped in Middle Ages, but ISIS recently used it as a punishment for women who breastfed their children in public. Number 4. Iron belts. Although these belts were not considered a torture device at all, anyone who had to use them would suffer severe discomfort and harassment. Just imagine having to wear one of them forever. Its victims were mostly girls or women and men who had strong sexual desires, that is, they were capricious people. The history of the use of these belts goes back to the period of ancient wars, when it was used as a tool to prevent the rape of women, and the first device discovered was in 1405 in the city of Florence, Italy. After that, many forms of it were made and its use became popular until 1930. The only purpose of iron belts was not to prevent women from having sex, but it was also used to prevent them from masturbating, and they tied it around the waist of girls or women. Number 3. Crocodile scissors. These iron pincers were often used to cut off the body parts of people who wanted to kill the king. These iron tongs were melted on the fire and then placed on the victim's body part in the desired place and separated from the poor person's body with a lot of force. If you are speechless up to this point in this video, it means you liked this video, so support us by like, comment and subscribing. Number 2. Torture by carnivorous rats. Even walking near a rat is painful enough, but this level of pain was certainly not enough in the Middle Ages. One of the craziest torture methods of all time is a rat torture. In this method, they put a cage on the victim's body which was open on one side and filled the inside of the cage with big rats. Then they lit a fire on the cage. Because of their natural instinct, these rodents constantly try to escape from the fire, so the rats started eating the person's body to escape from the fire and entered his body to escape from the fire. This situation would lead to the death of poor victim and the rats would come out of the victim's waist. Number 1. The bone-crushing wheel. This torture device, which is also known as Catherine's wheel, was used to kill the victim gradually. First, the hands and feet of the victims are tied to the spokes of a large wooden wheel. This wheel is rotated slowly, and at the same time the torturer hits the victim's hand and feet with an iron hammer and breaks different parts of his body. When the bones of the victims were broken, he was left on a wheel to die, or he was placed on a high place so that the birds would feed on his flesh alive. In fact, this process was done so slowly that sometimes the victim could survive for several days and eventually die due to the dehydration. Sometimes the command to kill out of pity with a mercy stroke included the victim's condition, and the executioner was ordered to end his suffering with a fatal blow on the chest and stomach of the victim. Many other tortures that were done in ancient times are still used today, but in very small and remote tribes with very old beliefs. But unfortunately, these methods are still in progress. What do you think? Which one was the worst torture?